Meg 2, The Trench is a 2023 giant monster film starring Jason Statham, Jing Woo, and Shuya Sophia Kai, while writers Dean Gorgaris, John Hobart, and Eric Hobart return. The director has changed from John Turtlebaum to Ben Wheatley. You may remember he directed and wrote A Field in England. That is such a strange coincidence, as I was planning to review that movie years ago, but something came up that prevented me. It's still on the list. Anyways, this film follows on sometime after the original movie. The little girl from the first film has grown to a teenager, while Jonah, Jason's character, has essentially pulled a Metal Gear Solid 2 Solid Snake and struck out being an anti-pollution takedown group of the ocean. Don't worry, it's not super preachy. Outside of a moment or two, they don't really mention it or try to hammer it into your head. With the actress Bing Bing Lee playing Su Yin not returning, the film decides instead to pair Jonah up with her brother Zhang. He's fun. Throughout the film, him and Jonah have a camaraderie pairing, as opposed to the love interest situation of the first film. Though Zhang and Su Yin are somewhat similar characters, I'm left to wonder if the actress leaving the field of acting was cause for an emergency character shift. Now, full stop, I love the first film. Sure, you can point out a flaw or two, but it was a giant shark film. And it was a well done giant shark film. It also had a respectable PG-13 in relation to the violence. For the most part, this is a fine sequel. Nothing was done that made me hate it. The film never spat on the original. I will say this one is much more disjointed and crammed. So the first film is a simple to follow series of linear events. Mission fails, they need a man for the job. They get Jonah, he does job. Job goes slightly wrong, but is mostly success. However, the job has left a way for the titular problem to occur. Okay, we have a film. This one has a female Meg in captivity. She escapes. Meanwhile, the crew is going down to survey the trench. There's a secret base, and now the mission failed due to getting trapped. Now we need to do the ocean walk from underwater. Yes, that's also on the list. Meanwhile, there's a rival character, the Jonah, we never met. And now corporate espionage, hostage situation, island in trouble, giant squid, villain love interest. It's a lot. And credit to the film, it doesn't fully drop the ball at having these elements, however, it still fumbles. So much happens that is seemingly pulled out of the ether with little regard or payoff. I'll have to cover more of that in a spoilers review, but just know this is more on the turn your brain off side of things. Also the characters. Outside the main ones who return, the new ones aren't really great. Zhang is fine, as is Shuya, but I cannot tell you a single thing about the other characters. They are there for fodder in the first half of the film. Speaking of fodder, I said that the prior film had a respectable PG-13. This film is much more on the softer side. There's blood occasionally, but when a human dies, nothing. Two big examples for me is when we see a woman get mauled by one of the amphibious creatures. She's attacked, initially off-screen, as the camera pans past a helicopter cockpit. We then see her dragged off into the brush. I'm pretty sure you could have splashed some red on the helicopter window, or at least bloodied her clothing a bit. The other was one of the more brutal deaths in the film. The pressure of the ocean essentially smooshes a person inside their suit. It was brutal, but at the same time, we've all seen blood in water. It fans out something fierce. When the suit collapses in on itself, not a drop. You're just left confused. Yes, the thought of it and the sight of the suit's face mask crushing inwards is perfect, but not even a faint drizzle of blood. One complaint I've seen leveled at this film is the lack of Meg. I'm rather confused by this. I hear people say the Megs don't come in until the end. Well, that's not true. In terms of action, we have an entire scene around the halfway point where the Megs are attacking the cast. The Megs rip up a facility, and yes, the Megs are at the end of the film. I think if we laid out both films, people would find that there isn't exactly much difference, especially if you factor in the other creatures. Yes, this movie's called Meg 2, and to be fair, the one Meg has a character arc of sorts in the film, but it's Meg 2 in the same way you have Tremors 2. First film you had Graboids, second film you have Graboids which give way to Shriekers. Ironically, both Shriekers and these amphibious creatures are small, fast-moving predators. Also a giant squid, which appears once and then reappears comes the end. I mean, if you saw the trailer, you'd be aware of this. I don't get why people are complaining when the Megalodons get a fair portion of screen time. I believe on par or close enough to the original film. Meanwhile, the film adds in new trench creatures in the hope of not simply retreading the first film. I do suggest checking out Meg 2 The Trench. Is it as good as the first? No. I did rather enjoy the first film. That said, this is a fun film you could easily take the family to go see. You get Jason Statham, you get Megs, and other ocean creatures, and you get some action. If they make a third, I would hope they lean more towards the first in terms of plot scale and how characters are handled. And could someone just have Statham say, "Shut up, Meg"? I mean, is that phrase copyrighted or something? Let him say it.